Good morning. Today we are continuing with our unit working with inequalities. We are doing CO46. I can solve inequalities with addition or subtraction. So we're going to take some prior knowledge of units that are objectives that we've done, and we're kind of combining them in this one. So we're not really doing anything new. We're just combining what we've already done. So you've got this. Remember that solving an inequality is very similar to solving an equation, but instead of the equal sign, we have the inequality sign. For review, solve the following equations. Show which method, logic, opposite operations, or fact families you are using. So we have 4 problems on the board from a previous objective that we should be able to solve. So I want us to go ahead on your papers, solve each of those problems, and we're going to see if we remember how to do this. Remember, math builds on itself, so we have to refresh our memory on how we solve. I like using opposite operations. Some people could use logic or fact families for some of these. So see how you would solve for the variable n. What does n equal? Do you have a question, Nolan?
N equals 800.
Oh, well, we need to know which number n equals for each problem. There is a certain answer for n for each problem.
That's easy.
Do it on the paper.
So write it on your paper for all 4 of them.
Oh, okay.
Some of us have really good number sense going on, and we could look at that and say, oh, logically, I know what it has to be. I'm going to work it through with the opposite operations so we remember how to do that, because remember, by the end, we were getting into some equations that we had to do the opposite operations instead of just doing logic or the fact families. So when you just have the one step, you can do the logic or fact families. I want us to remember how we do those opposite operations. So this first one, I was adding 6. I'm going to subtract 6 from both sides. 6 minus 6 gives me a 0, so it's just n. 19 minus 6 gives me 13. So n equals 13. You could have looked at that and said, oh, I know logically 6 plus 13 would equal 19. I know n equals 13. But remember, I'm just reviewing with us how we do those opposite operations, because we will be seeing those from here on out in all of your math that you do. It will be popping up doing those opposite operations. James?
For this CO, can we remember what the mathematical word phrase is? Because in that question it says someone over 9 is greater than 19. Can we put on our help sheet?
So on your help sheet for that objective where we made our chart, it's already going to be on the help sheet for that objective. You can always refer back to that objective on the help sheet for the next objective. So yes, okay, it'll be on the help sheet for the first objective. Look back at it for the following objectives if you need to, definitely. All right, so opposite operations for n plus 12. The opposite of plus is minus. So I'm going to subtract 12 from both sides. So I get n equals 20 minus 12, which is 8. How are we doing so far? People doing good? Show me your thumbs. Good. Now we have n minus 5. The opposite of 5, or minus 5 is adding 5. So we've got n equals 7 plus 5, which is 12. And n minus 21, the opposite of minus 21 is plus 21. Remember, what we do to one side, we do to the other. Negative 21 plus 21, we end up at 0. So n equals 40 plus 21, which is 61. Show me your thumbs. How do we do with these?
Amazing.
Okay, we're doing all right. We can move on. This was the review. This is our first step that we're doing. Now we're going to add in something else. Remember the difference between solving an inequality and solving an equation. instead of getting the variable by itself and calling it a day, we need to graph the solution on a number line. Oh, we've already done that. So we're taking one objective and now we're adding in which way it's going to go on the number line. So let's look at n plus 8. Well, you know what? Let me scroll up a little bit. All right, n plus 8 is less than 17. So I'm going to need to solve for my n the same way we just did when there was an equal sign. We're going to solve it the same way. So I'm going to do the opposite operations, but if you could do it with logic or the fact families, you could do that. But doing opposite operations just gives you that extra practice at it. But you could look at that and say, I know what plus 8 would be 17. I'm going to do the opposite operations and I'm going to subtract 8. 8 minus 8 is that 0, so I get n is less than 17 minus 8, which is 9. So now I have that inequality that I've had in my previous objectives, and I just need to graph it. So n less than 9, if I draw my number line, I'm going to put my 9 on the bottom. I'm going to look at it and say, oh, it's just less than. There's no equal to. So it's going to be an open circle. Because if there's no equal sign under it, it's open. And I'm going to say, okay, it's less than 9. So my arrow has to make it be less than 9. And my arrow looks like the less than sign. Okay, remember that from 2 days ago? Let's look at our next one. N minus 4 is greater than or equal to 10. So I see minus 4, so I'm going to add 4 to both sides. Minus 4 plus 4 cancels out to 0, so n is greater than or equal to 10 plus 4, which is 14. So n is greater than or equal to. So what kind of circle do I want to put above my 14? Nora, I want to put that filled in circle because it has that equal to. It can be 14 or it can be greater than 14. So again, my greater than sign points to the right, my arrow points to the right. But we can only do this trick of our greater than and our arrow matching up when our n is on the left side. So for Math 6, it's almost always on that left side. But when you get into pre-algebra and into algebra, then they start putting the variable on the other side and you really have to think it through. Okay, so you have to think of what it's saying. And then like James pointed out, we have our word phrases. So you can look back at the chart, which symbol, which inequality is it for that word phrase. So you can refer back to the previous objective to look at the chart if you don't remember which inequality it is. Let's look at our second page. Same thing. Graph it. You need to solve for each inequality and then graph it. Show your work. Okay, so show me which thing you're using to solve for your variable and then graph it.
Wait.
Just a second. Then on the bottom, this time you're writing an inequality like those above with a variable to solve for using addition or subtraction that has the graph as its solution. So here we can see there's a closed circle and our arrow goes to the left. So what inequality does that mean? If it's a closed circle and the arrow goes to the left, who can tell me what inequality is? So everybody put your pencils down and listen to me because we're working on our assignment instead of paying attention to this different part of the assignment. Pencils down. Gigi, what inequality does that arrow mean? And what inequality does that circle mean? Is it equal to or not equal? It is equal to. So the first thing you want to do is you want to put your inequality. Then we're going to think this 2 is what our variable is equal to. So when we write n, we know it stands for a 2. Because n equals 2, we graph that variable. I don't know what's going on here.
How's that?
Because, technology is a wonderful thing.
It is.
It is, until it's not working for us. There we go. All right, so we know n equals 2 because that's what we graphed. So I'm going to put my n there. I know it equals 2, and I need to write an addition or subtraction inequality. What could I put? James.
N plus 1.
Is less than or equal to what?
3.
3. Because we know n is 2. So that's what this number is telling us. It's telling us what n is. So you need to write an inequality that goes along with it. N plus 1 is less than or equal to 3. Does that make sense? So you're going to do the same thing for the other inequality that's graphed. You're going to write an inequality statement that would work for that. So you're going to look to see, is it less than or greater than? Does it have the equal sign under it? Then you're going to say, okay, this is what my n equals. So when I write n, I know it equals 8. So I need to fill out the rest of the inequality to make that work. Any questions on today's assignment? All right, we are going to work very quietly. I don't want there to be talking. If you have questions, you're going to come up to me. I'm going to clear off the front table for people who want to check their work, who want to see how they're doing. When you are done, you are working on math packets and you're working on Khan Academy. Khan Academy is due tonight. I don't want there to be any missing Khan Academies. Math packets are due next Tuesday. If you turn it in by tomorrow, I will show you which ones you need to improve upon to try to get 100% on your math packet. So work on your math packets. We have the recording on my YouTube channel. Make sure you're referring to it. If you are watching this at home, we hope you are well, and we hope to see you soon. Have a wonderful day.